Long before modern borders were drawn, before ships crossed the oceans, before the name Ghana was known to the world, this land already had a story of gold and kings, of empires that rose and fell, of courage, resistance, and identity. In this long-form historical documentary, we journey through thousands of years of Ghana's past, from ancient civilizations and powerful kingdoms to foreign invasion, colonial rule, and the fight for freedom. This is not just history for scholars. It is a story for children to learn, for adults to remember, for all to understand. Before we begin this journey through time, like this video to support African history, subscribe for deep, well-told documentaries. Share this story so others can learn where we come from. Comment below and tell us what part of Ghana's history inspires you most. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter in this powerful story. Now, sit back, listen closely, and let the story begin.
For centuries, the history of Ghana has been defined by powerful kings and rich tradition.
Long before the word Ghana was ever spoken, long before borders were drawn on maps, this land already had a story. The land was green and wide. Rivers flowed gently through forests and grasslands. Animals moved freely, and people lived close to the earth. These early people did not live in cities. They lived in small groups, families and clans, moving carefully with the seasons. When the rains came, they planted crops. When the dry season arrived, they hunted and gathered food. They learned to listen to nature. They watched the sky to understand the weather. They followed rivers to find fish and fertile soil. They used stones, wood, and bone to make tools. Slowly, life became more settled. As time passed, people learned something powerful. They learned how to farm. They planted yam. They planted millet. They planted later crops like plantain and maize. Farming meant food could be stored. Stored food meant families could grow. And growing families meant villages were born. Villages became places of sharing. People worked together. Elders told stories. Children learned by watching and copying. Knowledge passed from mouth to ear, from one generation to the next. Then came another great discovery: iron. People learned to heat rocks until metal appeared. They shaped iron into knives, hoes, and weapons. With iron tools, farming became easier. Houses became stronger. Communities became safer. Iron changed everything. A village with iron tools could survive better than one without. It could grow more food. It could protect itself. It could trade. Trade was beginning. People did not live alone on this land. To the north were vast deserts. To the south was the sea. To the east and west were other peoples and cultures. People began to exchange goods: food for tools, salt for crops, cloth for metal. Paths slowly became trade routes, and along these routes, ideas traveled too. New languages, new customs, new beliefs. But beneath the soil, hidden quietly in riverbeds and forests, was something far more powerful than iron. Something shiny, something rare, something that would change the fate of this land forever. Gold. At first, gold seemed harmless. Children found it while playing near rivers. Women discovered it while washing clothes. It shone under the sun, beautiful but mysterious. People used gold for decoration, for symbols, for honoring chiefs and spirits. No one imagined that this metal would one day attract the attention of the entire world. But word began to spread. This land had gold. Not a little, a lot. And when humans discover wealth, history begins to move faster. As villages grew richer, leadership became important. Strong hunters became protectors. Wise elders became judges. Spiritual leaders guided beliefs and rituals. Gradually, chiefs emerged. Chiefs did not rule alone. They ruled with councils. They listened to elders. They followed traditions. Leadership was not just about power, it was about responsibility. To protect the people, to settle disputes, to honor the ancestors. These early systems of leadership laid the foundation for kingdoms that would rise centuries later. Spiritual life was deeply important. People believed the land was alive. Trees had spirits. Rivers had guardians. Ancestors watched over the living. Every major event, birth, harvest, death, was marked by ritual. These beliefs taught respect for nature, respect for elders, respect for community. Even today, many of these traditions remain part of Ghanaian culture. By now, the land was no longer silent. Drums carried messages across villages. Songs told stories of heroes and ancestors. Festivals celebrated harvest and unity. History was not written in books. It was remembered in stories, rhythms, and symbols. And while the people of this land were building their lives, something was happening far away. Across the Great Sahara Desert, powerful empires were rising, empires that hungered for gold. And soon those distant empires would become connected to this land, not by conquest at first, but by trade. And that connection would give birth to one of the most famous names in African history, a name that would travel across time, a name that this land would one day proudly take for itself: Ghana.
Ghana Empire, situated at the crossroads of the Sahara.
Now, before the story can continue, it is important to understand something very clearly. The ancient Ghana Empire was not located in the country we call Ghana today. This often surprises people, both children and adults, because the names are the same. But history sometimes keeps its secrets hidden inside names. The ancient Ghana Empire existed far to the north of modern Ghana, in parts of what we now call southern Mauritania, western Mali, and eastern Senegal. This land sat at a very special place in Africa. To the north lay the Great Sahara Desert, vast and dangerous. To the south lay green forests rich with life and gold. The Ghana Empire stood between these two worlds. Because of this position, it became a powerful bridge between north and south. Across the Sahara Desert, long lines of camels traveled slowly through the sand. These caravans carried salt, cloth, books, and horses from North Africa. From the south came gold, ivory, and other forest riches. The Ghana Empire did not need to dig gold from the ground itself. Instead, it controlled the roads. Every trader who passed through the empire had to stop. Every trader had to pay tax. Gold entering the empire was taxed. Gold leaving the empire was taxed again. This simple system made the rulers of Ghana extremely wealthy, not by stealing, not by force alone, but by control, organization, and power. The people of the empire did not call their land Ghana. They called it Ouagadougou. The word Ghana was actually the title of the king. It meant warrior king. This title showed strength, protection, and authority. The king was not just a ruler, he was the defender of the people, the guardian of trade, and the spiritual symbol of the land. Arab travelers, hearing this title, began to call the entire empire Ghana, and over time that name spread across the world. Centuries later, when the Gold Coast prepared for independence, its leaders searched for a name that would speak to the past. They did not want a European name. They wanted an African name, a name that meant strength, pride, and history. So they chose Ghana, not because the ancient empire stood on the same land, but because its spirit, its power, and its importance belonged to all of West Africa. In this way, the name Ghana traveled through time, from a warrior king to a great empire to a modern nation.
The first kingdoms in modern Ghana, Bono, Dagbon, Gonja, and the birth of Akan civilization.
As we continue this journey through Ghana's past, take a moment to remember why stories like this matter. They help us understand who we are, where we come from, and how the past shapes the present. If you're enjoying this documentary so far, please like this video. It helps others discover this history. Subscribe to the channel for more deep, carefully told African stories. Share this documentary with friends, family, and classrooms, and comment below with your thoughts as the story unfolds. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you're alerted when the next part of this journey is released. Now let's continue, because the story of Ghana is far from finished.
The first kingdoms in modern Ghana, Bono, Dagbon, Gonja, and the birth of Akan civilization.
As the ancient Ghana Empire weakened and faded in the north, history did not stop. It moved. Slowly, power began to shift southward into the lands of forests, rivers, and rich soil. This was the land that would one day become modern Ghana. Here, new kingdoms were already taking shape. These kingdoms were built by people who understood the land, the seasons, and the value of gold. One of the earliest and most important of these states was the Bono Kingdom. The Bono people settled in the forest savanna zone of central Ghana, near today's Techiman area. This location was perfect. The forest provided gold, the savanna allowed trade with the north, rivers supported farming and life. The Bono became skilled traders. They traded gold, kola nuts, and crafts with northern merchants. In return, they received salt, cloth, and horses. Through this trade, the Bono grew wealthy and influential. The Bono people also shaped what would become Akan civilization. They developed systems of chieftaincy, clans and family lines, festivals and rituals. They believed in a supreme creator, spirits of nature, and powerful ancestors. Leadership was balanced. Chiefs ruled, but they listened to councils of elders. Decisions were made carefully, not by force alone. These ideas would later spread across much of southern Ghana. While Bono grew in the south, strong kingdoms were also rising in the north. One of the most powerful was Dagbon. The Dagbon Kingdom was located in northern Ghana, centered around areas like Yendi. Dagbon was founded by ancestors who migrated from the north and east. Over time, they built a strong political and military state. Dagbon rulers were called Yana. The Yana ruled with authority but respected tradition. Succession, customs, and law were deeply important. Dagbon became a center of trade between the forest and the desert. Nearby, another kingdom emerged, Gonja. The Gonja kingdom was founded in the 16th century by warrior groups moving southward. Unlike forest kingdoms, Gonja was known for its military strength. They conquered territory and controlled trade routes along the Volta River. The Gonja ruler, known as the Yagbonwura, governed a kingdom divided into provinces, each ruled by chiefs loyal to him. This system created order and stability. Together, these kingdoms, Bono, Dagbon, and Gonja, formed the backbone of early Ghanaian history. They were different in culture and environment, but they were connected by trade. Gold from the south, salt from the north, people, ideas, and customs moving in all directions. In the forest regions, Akan groups continued to grow and spread. Over time, they formed new states, Akyem, Denkira, Akwamu. Each state grew powerful through gold mining and trade. Competition increased. Alliances formed. Wars were fought. Kingdoms rose and fell. From this struggle for power would emerge one of the greatest African empires ever known. But before that empire rose, the people refined their culture. They perfected drumming and music, storytelling and proverbs, symbols and art. Gold became more than wealth. It became identity. Gold symbols represented power, wisdom, and unity. By the late 1600s, the forest states were ready for something bigger. The land was rich, the people were organized, the warriors were trained. All that was missing was unity, and unity was coming. In the heart of the forest, a small Akan state would soon rise above all others. A state that would unite many peoples under one symbol. A state whose name would echo across history. Asante.
By the will of the Golden Stool, we forge our unity and claim our power. The Asante Empire will rise and prosper.
In the deep forests of central Ghana, where tall trees filtered the sunlight and rivers carried gold in their beds, A small Akan state was growing stronger. Its name was Asante. At first, Asante was not powerful. It was one state among many. It paid tribute to a stronger neighbor called Nkrumah. But history was about to change, and change often begins with people. In the late 1600s, a leader rose among the Asante people. His name was Osei Tutu. Osei Tutu was not just a warrior, he was a thinker. He understood that strength did not come from fighting alone. Strength came from unity. But unity is difficult. The Akan states were proud. Each had its own chiefs, traditions, and interests. To unite them, Osei Tutu needed more than weapons. He needed belief. At his side stood a powerful spiritual leader known as Okomfo Anokye. Okomfo Anokye was believed to have deep spiritual knowledge. People trusted him. People feared him. People listened. Together, Osei Tutu and Okomfo Anokye changed history. One day, according to Asante tradition, something extraordinary happened. As chiefs gathered, Okomfo Anokye called upon the spirits. From the sky, a stool was said to descend. It did not land on the ground. It landed gently on Osei Tutu's lap. This was the Golden Stool. The Golden Stool was not a chair. No one ever sat on it. It was believed to hold the soul of the Asante people. It represented unity, life, and identity. From that moment, loyalty was no longer just to a king. It was loyalty to the Golden Stool. With unity achieved, Asante grew rapidly. They defeated Nkrumah in battle, breaking free from control. Victory changed everything. Other Akan states saw Asante's strength and joined, some by choice, some by force. Asante became an empire. The Asante Empire was well organized. At the top was the Asantehene, the king. Below him were chiefs who ruled towns and provinces. But power was balanced. Chiefs could advise the king. Elders had a voice. Laws were respected. This system created stability. The Asante army was strong and disciplined. Soldiers trained regularly. Weapons were well made. War was planned carefully. Gold paid for weapons. Unity ensured loyalty. Asante controlled major gold-producing areas and trade routes. Wealth flowed into the empire. Gold was everywhere. Gold jewelry, gold weights, gold symbols. But gold was never more important than the Golden Stool. The stool could never be sold. It could never be touched by outsiders. It represented the soul of the nation. Protecting it was a sacred duty. Daily life in the Asante Empire was rich and organized. Farmers grew food. Artisans crafted tools and art. Traders moved goods across long distances. Markets were busy. Drums announced events. Festivals celebrated harvests and ancestors. Children learned history through stories and proverbs. Religion remained central. People honored the Creator, the spirits, and the ancestors. Every decision, war, peace, justice, was guided by tradition and belief. The king ruled, but the spirits watched. By the 1700s, the Asante Empire was one of the most powerful states in West Africa. European traders on the coast heard of it. They knew Asante controlled gold, and where there is gold, attention follows. Soon, strangers from across the sea would enter the story. They came with ships. They came with guns. They came with trade. Their arrival would bring wealth, conflict, and suffering, and it would test Asante unity like never before.
European contact brought profound change to the Gold Coast, ushering in an era defined by the construction of massive stone castles.
Long before Europeans settled inland, their first contact with this land came from the sea. The ocean carried ships with tall white sails. The ships came slowly, cautiously, hugging the coast. In 1471, the first of these ships arrived. They were Portuguese. They were not explorers searching for empty land. They came because they had heard stories of gold. The Portuguese sailors were amazed. Gold was traded openly. Gold was worn as jewelry. Gold was used as symbols of power. They called the land the Gold Coast. This name would remain for centuries. At first, contact was peaceful. Africans controlled the land, Europeans controlled the ships. Trade took place at the coast. Africans traded gold, pepper, and ivory. Europeans traded cloth, metal goods, and weapons. No one imagined how deeply this contact would change everything. In 1482, the Portuguese built a stone fortress. It was called Elmina Castle. This was the first permanent European stone building in sub-Saharan Africa. The castle stood strong beside the ocean. It was built for trade and protection. At first, other European powers soon arrived. The Dutch, the Danes, the British, the Germans. Each built forts and castles along the coast. Soon the coastline was lined with stone walls and cannons. African rulers allowed these forts because they controlled trade, they gained weapons, they gained political advantage over rivals. Africans still held power inland, but trade was changing. Gold was no longer the most demanded product. Across the Atlantic Ocean, new lands had been discovered. European colonies in the Americas needed labor. The demand for workers grew. And slowly, quietly at first, a new trade began, the Atlantic slave trade. At first, enslaved people were prisoners of war or criminals under African law. They were sold in small numbers, but demand grew, prices rose, and the trade expanded beyond control. Forts and castles changed purpose. Dungeons were built beneath them, dark rooms, no windows, no air. Men, women, and children were held there. They waited, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes forever. This part of history is painful. It must be told carefully, but truthfully. Families were separated, villages were destroyed, fear spread inland. Not all African leaders supported this trade. Many resisted, many fought, many were also victims. But the trade continued. Millions of Africans were forced onto ships. They crossed the Atlantic in terrible conditions. Many did not survive. Those who did were taken far from home, never to return. This wound remains open in history. Yet African societies did not disappear. They adapted, they resisted, they survived. Powerful states like Asante grew even stronger inland, controlling trade and defending territory. Asante limited European influence inside its lands. Europeans remained mostly on the coast, for now. By the 1800s, the world was changing again. The slave trade was ending. Europe wanted something new: land, control, empire, and the Gold Coast was about to face its greatest challenge yet. As the 19th century approached, the balance of power along the Gold Coast began to shift. European nations were no longer satisfied with trade alone. They wanted land, they wanted control, they wanted empire. Among them, Britain emerged as the strongest power on the coast. But inland stood a formidable force, the Asante Empire. Asante was not weak. It was organized. It was wealthy. It was proud. The Asantehene ruled from Kumasi, surrounded by chiefs, warriors, and traditions older than European presence on the coast. Asante controlled the gold trade and major inland routes. Britain wanted access. Asante refused. Conflict became inevitable. The first Anglo-Asante War began in the early 1800s. At first, Asante forces were successful. They knew the land. They moved quickly. They fought with discipline. British forces struggled in the forest. Disease weakened them. Supplies ran low. Asante power was respected and feared. But Britain adapted. They brought more soldiers. They brought stronger weapons. They brought new strategies. War after war followed. Each war weakened Asante slightly, but never broke its spirit. By 1874, Britain launched a major invasion. British troops marched into Kumasi. The city was burned. It was a painful moment, but Asante did not surrender its soul. The Golden Stool remained hidden and protected. Britain declared Asante a protectorate, but resistance continued. Asante leaders refused to accept full foreign control. Then came the most powerful act of resistance. In 1900, a British governor demanded the Golden Stool. He wanted to sit on it. This was an unforgivable insult. The stool was sacred. It belonged to the people, not the king, not foreigners. A woman rose to lead the resistance. Her name was Ya Asantewa. She was the queen mother of Ajisu. When male leaders hesitated, she spoke with fire. "If you will not fight," she said, "then we, the women, will." Ya Asantewa led the War of the Golden Stool. Asante warriors surrounded the British fort in Kumasi. They fought bravely. They fought to protect their soul. But British firepower was overwhelming. Ya Asantewa was captured and exiled. Asante resistance was crushed militarily. In 1901, Asante was officially added to the British Empire. The empire had fallen, but dignity remained, culture remained, memory remained. Asante traditions survived colonial rule. Chieftaincy continued. Festivals continued. The Golden Stool was never captured. Even in defeat, Asante preserved its identity. Across the Gold Coast, British rule expanded. Northern territories were annexed. Southern states were controlled. The Gold Coast became a colony. But resistance did not end. It changed form. A new struggle was beginning. Not with guns, but with ideas, with education, with unity, with voices demanding freedom. And so, by the dawn of the 20th century, the great Asante Empire had fallen under colonial rule. Not because its people were weak, not because its culture was broken, but because the world around it had changed. Yet even in defeat, something powerful remained. The Golden Stool was never taken. The soul of the people endured. The memory of resistance lived on. This was not the end of Ghana's story. It was only the end of one chapter. In part 2, the struggle continues, from colonial rule and forced labor, to education and new ideas, to the rise of nationalism and the long road toward independence. A journey that will lead to one of the most important moments in African history. If you found this story meaningful, like this video to support the channel. Subscribe for deep, well-told African history. Share this documentary so others can learn. Comment below with your thoughts or questions. And most importantly, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss part 2 of the history of Ghana, because the story is far from over.